outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan the podcast. I'm Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm. We have today with us one of our great legislators in Tennessee, Representative Mark White of Shelby County, who is also the chairman of the House Education Committee. Chairman White, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alan. Good to be with you, and long-time friendship. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I want to say publicly that Representative White has been a great friend to Memphis and Shelby County, and does a lot of unsung work up in the legislature for all of us in Shelby County and folks in West Tennessee as well. Representative, thank you for all you do for us.
My pleasure.
Well, tell us, you and I've known each other for years, but tell the audience how how'd you get involved in politics of all things? Because I know you had a very successful business career, and then went on to politics. How did that work out?
Well, it's one of those things I guess you have in your blood or you don't. But I've always had an interest in politics. Didn't know if I'd ever actually do it. Like you say, I had about 25 years as a small business person in Memphis. We set up special events all over town for about 20 years of that business. And before that, as I graduated from Memphis State at the time, my degree was in education. I taught school. I was a principal for a few years at elementary school. Loved that, loved the students. And then the opportunity came along, and there was an open seat. So I ran once and I lost. I ran the second time and lost, and the third time, as they say, usually the charm. So I've been in State General Assembly of Tennessee since 2010, 14 years now, and been chairing the House Education Administration Committee for the past 9 years because of my background in love for education and children. I've been doing that for a while, and we're just really trying to figure out how do we improve Tennessee education for our children. We just went through a kind of a rough ride this year when we passed the third grade retention law. It was never intended to be third grade retention. It was intended to be a remediation where we could finally say, hey, this 34% reading literacy is not going to cut it. And we can debate all day long exactly what that means, whether it's based on one test or what. But the fact is, too many of our young people are graduating high school without the reading skills. So we drew the line in the sand, and we say we're going to fix this. Now, we've had the third grade retention bill that's passed. Now, in the future, we'll go back and address kindergarten, first and second grade, reaching third grade, and not being ready to move on and having the issues of possible retention. So I just left a meeting a few minutes ago where there's about 14 of us in the room, and we're talking about education, reading literacy, and all the above.
Talk a little bit about, if you would, about what it's like to be a state representative, but particularly the chairman of an important committee like the Education Committee. For those of us who've never been in the legislature, what's a day in the life like? How do you have such an impact on the lives of Tennesseans in that role?
Well, as we all know, education is really everything. Of course, I come from a faith-based background. I'm a faith person, so I believe that's first. But after that, for us to be able to adapt in society, we have to have that education. I go back and read the early years of our country, where the reason they started public education in the first place was to teach our young people to read, so that they could remain free. A free society is an educated society, and it's a struggle. We've gone through the hundreds of years in this country of education issues, and every generation struggles. So my background and my love, not only for education but for children, is looking for the right answers. To answer your question specifically, it of course you never get through. There's always something, spend thousands of hours in meetings. I'm getting ready to go to DC next week on a National Assessment of Educational Progress Board meeting where we give the golden standard test across the nation to all our children. So there's always things that you can do, but holding the line and making sure that we are continuing to move forward and not move backwards as a state is one of the biggest challenges. That's one of the reasons, like I say, I've been on the education committee for 9 years, and some people say, well, no one should maybe be in elected office very long. Well, if you don't have people who have the institutional knowledge or know what you tried before and didn't work, just like any career, if you don't have those people in government, then a lot of times you waste the taxpayers' money because you repeat the same mistakes if you move in and out too soon. So I've always loved it. It's a challenge. And then a number of years ago, I went back and got a master's in conflict resolution because I figured, I've got 98 other House members and 33 senators that I've got to pull in my direction if I want to get anything done. And so how do you negotiate and collaborate and get people to understand, what you're wanting to achieve so that we can all work together?
What do you think is the most important legislative priorities for our area, whether it's Memphis or Shelby County or West Tennessee? What do you see in the next session being the most important issues?
Well, I would still continue to think it's education, because education leads to workforce development, which leads to economic prosperity. That's one of the things. That's what we're facing on that. And of course, we are in our community, which we're also addressing heavily, is that we have a crime issue, especially of our juveniles, and that's a direct result of our young people not being in school. Ever since the pandemic, we've had a lot that didn't come back to school, dropouts and things. And if you're not reading proficiently, and school is a chore, then of course you're going to drop out. So that's what we're fighting, is reading literacy, which addresses not only workforce development, addresses crime. So crime and education are two big areas in our city that we need to address.
Have you heard any rumblings about bail reform? I know there's a lot of critics in Memphis right now about the inability or the unwillingness of folks to keep people in jail while they're awaiting trial. Do you think we'll see any action on that in the legislature this year?
I do. Actually, I was in a meeting with about 20 other people yesterday with the governor. We're working on some legislation to address our August 21st special session that he's looking at bringing us back into. And, we've got a lot of good laws on the books already, but we need more. But laws are paper. Laws are what we want to do, but it's a revolving door right now, where if the police do their job and that person that, say, I think it happened the other day with a lady, she shot out in public on a particular bridge that wasn't here in Memphis, but the next day she's out, and so we have got to, if you want to help rehabilitate someone, you got to hold them long enough. You can't just put them back in their local community. Or the judicial, we got to have, when we're working on bills to address that.
Good. I think that's important, particularly with someone who commits a crime, is released, then is arrested again in a short period of time. That just seems to me that person needs to cool their heels somewhere until we figure it out.
Right, especially our 17 and under. There's a lot of laws on the books to protect juveniles, and rightfully so. Juvenile crime is a little different than it was when I was a youth, or my father's and grandfather's generation. So there's a lot of books, rules on the books to protect juveniles. But when a young person that's 14, 15, 16 is out with a gun now, and they are smashing and grabbing, and they're trying to kidnap someone or carjack someone, that's a whole different situation. And I think we need to hold them long enough to determine, what the penalty should be, at least get their attention for a while.
Well, I know you started this show by talking about education, and rightfully so. That's the long-term solution to this problem. More opportunity people have, hopefully the less their chance to make the wrong choice and go into violent crime.
Absolutely. And just if I can throw in as a side, in September, I'm going to give great credit to our not only our state governor, but our commissioner of DHS, the Department of Human Services, Commissioner Carter. We are having in September a 3-day family initiative or Fathers in the Home conference up in Nashville to address a lot of it. Young people, they don't have a fighting chance because they come from such dysfunctional homes and things of that nature, and helping them. So we're going to have a 3-day fatherhood initiative. And by the way, the former coach Tony Dungy is going to be a part of that.
Yes, yeah, that's great. Well, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your time, particularly out in the hot sun there. You're always a good sport, good trooper, and you're a great public servant for our state. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, sir. All right, everybody, that's been this episode of Ask Alan the podcast. I'm Alan Crone, CEO of the Crone Law Firm. Thank you for watching.